Welcome to Occult Mysticism, your gateway to hidden knowledge. Today, we delve into the Mystical Qabalah by Dion Fortune, a profound exploration of the Kabbalistic tree of life and its mystical teachings. Join us as we unlock its secrets and illuminate the path to spiritual wisdom. Subscribe for more esoteric journeys. Dion Fortune's The Mystical Qabalah is not merely a historical survey of an ancient tradition, but a profound guide to its living application in modern spiritual development. Fortune presents the Qabalah as the authentic yoga of the West, a system meticulously adapted to the unique psychological and spiritual constitution of Western peoples. She laments that while many dabble in various occult systems, true progress in spiritual development demands a consistent and disciplined approach to a single comprehensive method. The Qabalah, with its intricate tree of life glyph, offers precisely this, serving as a calisthenics of consciousness that gradually unfolds the mind's higher powers. Fortune argues that the Western esoteric tradition, though largely hidden from academic scholarship, has been preserved through private manuscripts and an unbroken oral lineage. She explains that the intentional obscurities, or blinds, woven into the tradition by ancient initiates were designed to safeguard profound truths from the uninitiated, yet they have unfortunately also served to baffle conventional scholars. For Western spiritual culture, the foundational importance of Hebrew thought is undeniable, primarily because Judaism, alone among ancient civilizations, established a monotheistic framework. This singular concept of God provided the essential matrix upon which later spiritual dispensations, including Christianity, could be grafted. The Qabalah, as the mystical interpretation of Hebrew wisdom, forms the theoretical bedrock for all Western ceremonial magic, with its tree of life serving as an unparalleled symbol for meditation due to its comprehensive nature. Fortune emphasizes that the modern Kabbalist is a direct heir to this ancient lineage, tasked with reinterpreting and reformulating its doctrines in light of contemporary experience to maintain its practical relevance and vitality. The historical flow of this mystical tradition is traced from the nomad star worshippers of Chaldea, Abraham, through the interactions with Egyptian priest-kings, Joseph, Moses, the Tyrian mysteries, Hiram, the Temple, and Babylonian wisdom, Daniel the Magi. This rich heritage culminated in three bodies of Hebrew literature: the Old Testament, the tradition's body, the Talmud, its rational soul, and the Kabbalah, its immortal spirit. Fortune poignantly notes the historical oversight of Christian exegesis in neglecting the Kabbalah as a key to understanding the Old Testament. She cites the Essenes community as a likely training ground for Jesus, and points to the Kabbalistic structure embedded in the Lord's Prayer, where Malkuth, Had, Netzach, and Yesod form a basal triangle with Yesod as the central point, demonstrating a clear Kabbalistic understanding at its core. The Gnosis, early Christianity's esoteric current, though influenced by Greek and Egyptian thought, was tragically suppressed by the exoteric church, leading to the deliberate destruction of its literature, such as the manuscripts that famously fueled the baths and bakehouses of Alexandria. Fortune observes that it was not until the 15th century, as the church's power waned, that the Kabbalah began to resurface, often conveyed through cryptic glyphs whose explanations were passed down verbally, ensuring their true interpretation remained intact. Fortune critiques the limitations of the Catholic Church's devotional bhakti yoga, asserting its unsuitability for all temperaments and the frequent failure of Eastern methods when applied without proper guidance in Western conditions. She vigorously advocates for the Kabbalah as the ideal traditional Western system, uniquely suited to the psychic constitution of Western races. This system, she claims, yields immediate results and fosters a peculiar vitality in its adepts, a quality so striking that it gave rise to legends of the elixir of life. While acknowledging the necessity of proper supervision for psychospiritual development, she commits to presenting accurate information about the Kabbalah's principles, despite her initiation oaths preventing the full disclosure of practical keys. Her work, she humbly states, is a first-aid effort to draw attention to this neglected yet invaluable system, hoping to inspire scholars to further its translation and investigation. Fortune classifies the Kabbalah into four main branches: the practical, magic, the dogmatic literature, the literal, literature and numbers, and the unwritten. The latter, originally transmitted solely by mouth to ear, refers to the precise arrangement of symbols on the tree of life. Fortune notes that this secret became public through Aleister Crowley's publications following his quarrel with MacGregor Mathers. The tree, Ots Chihim, consists of 10 holy Sephiroth connected by 22 paths. These paths correspond to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the 22 tarot trumps. Further layers of symbolism are mapped onto the paths, including the 12 zodiacal signs, the 7 planets, and the 4 elements. Fortune clarifies a key, blind. In the tradition, while the Sefer Yetzirah refers to 32 paths, only 22 are connecting lines. The 10 Sephiroth themselves are considered the first 10 paths. The element of earth is deliberately excluded from the paths leading into the unseen, as human consciousness is already rooted in it. This intricate mapping, she explains, provides the philosophical basis for esoteric astrology and tarot divination. The Sephiroth are understood to manifest in 4 distinct worlds: Atziluth, the archetypal world of divine names; Braya, the world of creation and archangels; Yetzirah, the world of formation and angelic hosts; and Asha, the world of action or matter, governed by mundane chakras like planets and zodiac signs. Fortune distinguishes Sephiroth as macrocosmic, representing successive divine emanations that flow like a lightning flash from the unmanifest, while the paths are microcosmic, signifying subjective stages of cosmic realization, often depicted as the coiling serpent Nechushtan. She strongly criticizes the historical tendency towards secrecy, arguing that withholding theoretical knowledge has harmed the occult movement, making it elitist and prone to superstition. She connects Kabbalistic cosmogony to the stanzas of Dizan, the basis of Madame Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine, emphasizing its role as the true Christian gnosis and key to resolving biblical riddles. Fortune explains that the Kabbalist approaches the highest forms of existence by recognizing that their apprehension transcends ordinary thought. Since the human mind cannot directly grasp the absolute, Kabbalists employ symbolic veils of negative existence, Ein negativity, Ein Sof the limitless, and Ein Sof R the limitless light. These are not meant to be definitive descriptions, but serve as algebraic symbols or counters, allowing the mind to conceptualize that which is beyond its direct comprehension. They function as a stairway of realization, enabling gradual ascent. The starting point for this understanding is Kether, the crown, the first sephira, symbolized as the point within the circle and representing pure being, Ihai, I am, or the self-existing one. Fortune asserts that Kether is understood not in isolation, but in relation to its emanations, echoing the Kabbalistic axiom. Kether is the Malkuth of the unmanifest. She uses analogies like the blinding white light or interstellar space to convey the formless intensity of Kether. The concept of God as pressure is offered as a seed idea that, when meditated upon, conveys a powerful realization of life outflowing through all channels. This symbolic method allows the mind to grow and apprehend vast, initially unthinkable realities, pushing the boundaries of evolutionary consciousness. The paths of the tree, as stages of illumination, are deeply entwined with initiation ceremonies, serving as practical channels for spiritual advancement. The Tree of Life, Ots Chihim, functions as a grand sliding rule for the initiate, enabling the scanning and calculation of both visible and invisible intricacies of existence. Its structure, with 10 Sephiroth and 22 paths, is arranged in 3 vertical columns: the right-hand pillar of mercy, Chokmah, Chesed, Netzach; the left-hand pillar of severity, Bina, Geburah, Hod; and the central middle pillar of mildness or equilibrium, Kether, Tifereth, Yesod, Malkuth. Fortune clarifies that the Sephiroth are not physical locations, but states or conditions of existence, analogous to the simultaneous presence of physical body, emotions, mind, and spirit within a single human being. She uses the analogy of sugar crystallizing from a supersaturated solution to illustrate Kether's emergence from the limitless light, marking the first becoming. Unlike exoteric traditions that depict a craftsman god, the Kabbalah conceives of creation as an evolutionary overflow, where each sephira is like a pool that, when filled, overflows into a lower one, containing the potentiality of all that follows. The creative process is depicted by the lightning flash, a zigzagging descent of emanations from Kether to Chokmah, outward and right, then to Bina, level and left, forming the first trinity, or 3 supernals. This supernal triangle is separated from the rest of the tree by the abyss, a profound chasm that marks a critical demarcation in the nature of consciousness. A deeper understanding of the three supernals reveals their precise interrelationships. Kether crown, Chakma wisdom, and Bina understanding are further joined by the invisible Sephira, Dath knowledge, which sits astride the abyss. Dayath, formed from the conjunction of Chokma and Bina, is seen as the apex of a pyramid, with the three supernals forming its base, representing the crucial function of realization and conscious apprehension. Fortune emphasizes that Kether, the crown, is not consciousness itself, but its raw material, existing above the head, like the Sahasrara chakra, signifying its fundamental nature as an underlying root rather than an absorbed manifestation. Kether differentiates into Chakma, Abba, the supernal father, the active male potency and head of the pillar of mercy, and Bina, Amma, the supernal mother, the passive female potency, also called the Great Sea, Mara, and the sphere of Saturn, Shabbathai, heading the pillar of severity. Fortune explains that Saturn, the father of the gods, is associated with primordial age and the lords of form. This primary differentiation into pairs of opposites, force and form, is fundamental to all manifestation, with the middle pillar serving as the column of equilibrium. Dayath, strategically located at the abyss, holds the key to both generation and regeneration, linking the supernals to the lower Sephiroth and hinting at the cosmic process of uniting opposites, often associated with Kundalini. Below the abyss, the second triangle consists of Chesed, Mercy, Jupiter, Geburah, Strength, Mars, and Tifereth, Beauty, Sun. This triad forms the ethical triangle. Chesed, the beneficent lawgiver and king on his throne, balances Geburah, the fiery warrior and destroyer of evil. Both find their equilibrium in Tifereth, the Redeemer, which Fortune explicitly calls the Christ center. She explains that Tifereth, being the focus of all the sacrificed gods, acts as a mediator, uniting the constructive energies of Chesed and the destructive but necessary forces of Geburah. Behind Tifereth lies Parokath, the veil of the temple, another chasm of consciousness, indicating that Tifereth is the highest point to which normal human consciousness can ascend, reflecting Kether to the human mind. The third triangle, Netzach, Victory, Venus, Hod, Glory, Mercury, and Yesod Foundation, Moon, is designated the Magical Triangle. Yesod, at the base of the middle pillar, integrates the contrasting energies of Netzach, nature mysticism, instincts, and Hod, intellectual mysticism, concrete thought. Fortune suggests that assigning the Holy Spirit to Yesod, the Son to Tifereth, and the Father to Kether offers a more coherent Kabbalistic understanding of the Christian Trinity. Malkuth, the kingdom of earth, is unique in standing apart from these triangles, serving as the receptacle of influences, and being closely linked to the Qliphoth, the evil or averse Sephiroth that represent unbalanced force. Fortune views the tree as a dynamic jigsaw puzzle, or card index file, whose various groupings aid in understanding cosmic and psychological relationships. The various patterns of the tree are crucial for revealing associations and equilibrium, allowing the decimal system of the Kabbalah to be equated with threefold, fourfold, and sevenfold systems. The three vertical pillars, mercy, severity, and equilibrium, are foundational. Fortune clarifies the concept of the subjective tree when applied to the microcosm. Man, where the pillars of severity and mercy are reversed, corresponding to the Ida and Pingala, left and right, magnetic currents, respectively, of yoga, with the middle pillar aligning with the central Shushumna. She emphasizes that each Sephira is subtly bisexual, acting negatively to the Sephira from which it emanates and positively to the one it emanates. The zigzagging lightning flash visually depicts this successive positive, negative, and equilibrated flow of emanations. The middle pillar, Fortune argues, directly represents distinct levels of consciousness: Malkuth, sensory brain consciousness; Yesod, astral psychism; Tifereth, illuminated consciousness or higher self; Doth, a change of key or dimensional consciousness; and Kether, the root of all being, union with God. The descent of force through involution follows the lightning flash, while the ascent of consciousness in evolution follows the path of the arrow, also called the serpent of wisdom, symbolic of initiation. Fortune refines Mather's often misleading terminology for the three trinities, proposing more accurate designations: the supernal, Kether, Chokmah, Binah, the ethical, Chesed, Geburah, Tifereth, and the astral, or magical, Netzach, Had, Yesod. She further elaborates on the division of the Sephiroth into the four worlds, Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, Asaya, and the seven palaces, which connect the Kabbalah to the sevenfold system of theosophy. The allocation of the three mother letters of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph, Mem, Shin, to elemental triads on the tree, air, water, fire, provides additional insight into the affiliations of individual Sephiroth. The four worlds of the Kabbalists are not merely arbitrary classifications, but define a complete system of notation for expressing the function of any power at any given level, forming the very basis of ceremonial magic, talismanic magic, and tarot divination. Fortune explains that the Malkuth of a higher world is conceived as the Kether of the world immediately below it, creating a cascading chain of manifestation. In each world, a Sephira manifests under the presidency of specific entities, a divine name in Atziluth, a mighty archangel in Bria, an angelic host in Yetzirah, and a mundane chakra planet, zodiac sign, or element in Asya. The precise Hebrew names of power based on gematria, where each letter is also a number, are vital for magical operations, as not a letter may be changed without altering the numerical formula. Fortune highlights Crowley's four-color scales, King, Queen, Emperor, Empress, which correspond to the four worlds and are linked to the Tetragrammaton, JHVH, the sacred four-letter name of God. This fourfold classification, she argues, acts as a Rosetta Stone for unlocking the true esoteric meaning of other occult systems, providing the philosophical basis that transforms them from mere rules of thumb into coherent practices. Fortune stresses that the Kabbalah is fundamentally a method of using the mind, appealing to the subconscious through a logic akin to dream association. The adept, through meditation on prescribed symbols, enters into communion with the Earth Soul, or racial subconsciousness. Fortune explains that the ancient wisdom personified natural forces into magical figures or anthropomorphic thought forms, which, when charged with cosmic force by concentrated human imagination, become artificial elementals that act as vehicles for these forces. These forms, she says, are peculiarly effectual for their designed purpose, and their vibration, a resonant vocalization imbued with emotion and devotion, connects the student with the forces behind each sphere, leading to specific illuminations and energies, e.g., Had for scientific understanding, Yesod for life force. She reiterates that every magical operation should begin with the invocation of the God name of the sphere in Atziluth, ensuring harmony with cosmic law. The paths upon the tree are primarily the 22 lines connecting the Sephiroth, distinct from the Sephiroth themselves, which the Sefer Yetzirah misleadingly refers to as the first 10 paths. Each path is understood as representing the equilibrium of the two Sephiroth it connects. These paths are intricately correlated with the 22 Hebrew letters, the 22 tarot trumps or major arcana, the signs of the zodiac, the planets, and the elements excluding Earth. Fortune insists that the Tree of Life, astrology, and the tarot are not three separate mystical systems, but three interlocked aspects of one unified wisdom, each unintelligible without the others. She endorses Crowley's system of tarot attributions, which assigns the four suits to the four worlds and four elements: Wands, Fire Atziluth, Cups Water Bria, Swords Air Yetzirah, Pentacles Earth Ashia, with the numerical cards relating to the Sephiroth, Aces to Kether, Twos to Chokmah, etc., and the court cards to the letters of the Tetragrammaton. This structure, Fortune asserts, reveals the consistent action of divine forces across all levels of nature. While her book elucidates the philosophical tree for meditation, the practical Kabbalah for magical purposes requires formal initiation within a temple of the mysteries. However, she believes that the information provided is sufficient for an earnest seeker to deduce the practical keys through diligent application. The tree serves as a powerful meditation glyph, capable of equilibrating conflicting aspects of one's own nature and establishing rapport with macrocosmic forces, functioning as a diagnostic and therapeutic tool for astrological imbalances. Fortune stresses that effective magical formulae demand not only knowledge, but also the specific grades of initiation, without which attempts to practice can be futile or even dangerous, akin to self-diagnosing from a medical textbook. Ritual initiations of the greater mysteries are based on the tree's principles, where each grade corresponds to a sephira, conferring it the powers and opening the relevant paths for astral projection or spiritual vision. Fortune highlights the importance of discerning confused symbolism during such visions, guided by the precise color correspondences of the paths. She also emphasizes that genuine self-initiation through meditation, though slower, is equally valid. In considering the subjective Sephiroth, Fortune elaborates on the concept of man as a miniature macrocosm containing all the factors of the manifested universe within his own nature. She critiques earlier, crude anatomical mappings of the Sephiroth onto the human body, advocating for a more subtle interpretation that aligns with the psychic centers, or chakras, described in Hindu yoga and supported by modern physiological insights into the endocrine system. Fortune discusses specific Sephira chakra correlations, often aligning with the work of General J.F.C. Fuller, where Crowley's attributions appear contradictory. For example, Malkuth is linked to the Muladhara lotus associated with excretion, representing the end result of life processes and the dissolution of form, and Yesod to the Svadhisthana chakra, generative organs, psychic consciousness. Tiferet is associated with the Manipura and Anahata chakras, solar plexus, breast, higher psychism, while Bina and Chokma relate to the Vishuddha and Ajna chakras respectively, uniting in Doth, nape of the neck. Kether corresponds to the Sahasrara chakra, the thousand-petaled lotus above the head, signifying a form of consciousness usually beyond incarnation. The central pillar is fundamentally the pillar of consciousness. Malkuth, brain, Yesod, psychic, Tifereth, illuminated, Death, dimensional shift, Kether, pure being. The side pillars, severity and mercy, represent the positive and negative principles, or form and force, and their modes of operation within the human psyche. Fortune explains how Bina Saturn, giver of form, is the source of the locking up of force, while Gebra Mars, destroyer, is about setting free that force. The Netzach Had Yesod triangle, on a lower arc, represents the magical and astral side of human nature, with Netzach embodying elemental forces and instinct, and Had embodying intellect and concrete thought. Fortune then explores the gods upon the tree, explaining how ancient man's personification of natural forces was a sophisticated, if crude, attempt to formulate a monistic theory of the universe. She validates this approach by noting the convergence of modern physics and metaphysics towards the idea of mind as the root of form. The Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, permits a legitimate analogy between human consciousness and natural forces. Fortune emphasizes that the pagan pantheons are not mere aberrations, but profound symbolic systems, whose true meaning can be grasped by a sympathetic observer who enters their Holy of Holies. She draws parallels, such as the Lamb of God and the Bull of Mithra, arguing that the inner forms of ancient faiths compare favorably with modern metaphysics. The Kabbalistic tree, she asserts, provides the vital link between these highly stylistic pagan systems and modern rational methods, allowing the initiate to make the best of both worlds, ancient and modern. Gods and goddesses are sorted into the 10 Sephiroth based on their astrological associations: Kether for space gods, Chokma for zodiac, creative principles, Bina for Saturn, primordial mothers, Chesed for Jupiter, beneficent rulers, Gebura for Mars, war and destruction, Netzach for Venus, love, Had for Mercury, wisdom and magic, Yesod for lunar deities, and Malkuth for earth goddesses. Fortune explicitly critiques Crowley's placement of gods on the paths, arguing that paths represent subjective states of consciousness, while Sephiroth represent objective natural forces. She insists that the working glyph of the tree always uses different color scales for Sephiroth, objective, and paths, subjective. In discussing practical work upon the tree, Fortune portrays occult study as an excavation of a buried temple, acknowledging the scattered and defaced nature of the tradition due to centuries of unenlightened bigotry and spiritual jealousy. She criticizes the corner on occult knowledge maintained by certain English-speaking fraternities, which she believes stifles spiritual impulse and leads to muddle-headed thinking and credulous assumptions. She offers her own experience of 10 years working in the dark before finding the keys through psychic contacts, asserting that essential knowledge should not be withheld from worthy students. The effective use of magical symbols requires more than intellectual understanding. It demands practical contact achieved through regular meditation. This involves thoroughly memorizing the key symbols for each of the 32 paths, allowing the subconscious mind to automatically sort and interpret them. A vision evoked through the tree is an artificially produced waking dream, deliberately motived and consciously related to a chosen subject, enabling the evocation and interpretation of both subconscious and superconscious perceptions. Fortune contrasts the trained occultist's ability to control and select images with the untrained person's uncontrolled subconscious outpouring. Each sephira is to be studied under a threefold aspect: philosophical, its role in cosmic evolution, cryptic yet serratic texts, and descriptive titles; psychic, its magical image, names of power, and associations with archetypal figures; and magical, its practical effects, virtues, vices, and correspondences with animals, plants, precious stones, perfumes, and magical weapons. Fortune emphasizes the profound psychological influence of these correspondences, such as specific sense-inducing states of mind and the use of crystals and metals as storage batteries for subtle forces. She asserts that all magical operations, to be effective, must end in Malkuth, meaning they must manifest tangibly on the physical plane. Otherwise, the generated force remains loose and can cause negative repercussions. Kether, the crown, is the admirable or hidden intelligence, the ultimate source of all existence. Fortune reiterates its identity as pure being, Ihaya, transcending form and activity, yet from which all unfolds. Its symbol, the point within the circle, reflects its nature as the primordial focus. The magical image is an ancient bearded king seen in profile, indicating an aspect forever hidden from manifested consciousness. Its spiritual experience is union with God, a state of consciousness so profound it often means a trance of annihilation for the incarnate soul. Fortune emphasizes that drawing power from Kether, the reservoir of limitless power, aligns the magician's work with cosmic law, preventing negative karmic reactions experienced when drawing from lower limited spheres. The archangel Metatron, Prince of Countenances, is Kether's manifestation in Braya, tradition averring him as Moses' teacher. The angels of Kether are the Keath HaKadesh, holy living creatures, linked to Ezekiel's chariot vision and the four aces of the tarot, representing the roots of the four elements. Its mundane chakra, Rashith HaGilgalim, first swirlings, demonstrates the rabbi's intuitive grasp of nebular theory. Fortune stresses that while pure spirit is beyond form, it is the underlying root of all manifestation, and the Kether of Atzilith remains largely unapproachable by incarnate consciousness, signifying a complete change of mode of being rather than annihilation. Its virtue is attainment, representing the completion of the great work. Chokmah, wisdom, is the illuminating intelligence, the dynamic, forth-flowing energy from Kether. It is represented by a bearded male figure, the supernal father, Abba, symbolizing virile potency and the creative impulse. Its symbols include the lingam, the phallus, and the uplifted rod, signifying primary dynamism. Chokmah's god name is Jehovah, and its archangel is Ratziel. The mundane chakra is Masloth, the zodiac, implying its foundational role in organizing cosmic forces. The spiritual experience is the vision of God face to face, a tremendous influx of cosmic energy that can be overwhelming to mortals, but which is the root of all dynamic force. Fortune explains that every phase of evolution begins with unstable force, and Chokmah embodies this initial outdriving energy that stimulates further development. She elucidates the profound cosmic and psychological significance of polarity, where maleness, Chokmah, represents dynamic force and femaleness, Bina represents static, potential force. The four twos of the tarot, assigned to Chokmah, universally symbolize harmony and balanced polarization. Fortune argues that understanding the spiritual significance of sex as an aspect of this universal polarity is crucial for psychological health and effective occult work, allowing for the sublimation of creative force from its purely physical aspect. She warns against dissociations and repressions that can turn this powerful force into pathological symptoms. Bina, understanding, is the passive, formative principle, symbolized by a mature woman or matron, the supernal mother, Amma. Her association with Saturn Shabbatai signifies her role as the giver of form, the solidifier, and the origin of structure and limitation. Bina's god name is Jehovah Elohim, and her archangel is Tzafkiel. The spiritual experience is the vision of sorrow, reflecting the inevitable suffering inherent in manifestation as life is constrained by form, and linking to the Weeping Virgin Mary and Buddha's teaching. Her virtues are silence, receptivity, and her vice is avarice over retentiveness. Fortune explains that while Chakma explodes like petrol, Bina acts as the combustion chamber that gathers and utilizes this energy, creating stable systems. She explores Bina's dual nature as Amma, dark, sterile mother, and Ima, bright, fertile mother, linking her to the great Sea Mara as the primordial womb of life. The outer robe of concealment symbolizes matter, shrouding the inner robe of glory of the life principle. The 4 threes of the tarot are assigned to Bina, representing established strength and material works, but also sorrow, depending on the suit. Fortune asserts that the concept of God as Elohim, a feminine noun with a masculine plural, signifies the true balance of male and female principles in creation, a balance often lost in goddessless religions. She argues that psychological health and magical efficacy depend on acknowledging and integrating the interplay of polarity in all aspects of life, including sex. Chesed, mercy, symbolized by a mighty crowned and throned king, is the cohesive or receptive intelligence, and the first sephira below the abyss, marking the beginning of microprosopos, the manifested universe. As a reflection of Chakma on a lower arc, Chest embodies organized, anabolic, building-up force. Its association with Jupiter Tzedek reinforces its nature as the beneficent ruler and lawgiver. The spiritual experience is the vision of love, and its virtue is obedience, signifying the necessary sacrifice of egoism for harmonious social and spiritual order. Its vices, bigotry, hypocrisy, gluttony, tyranny, are seen as social imbalances. The left arm is its microcosmic correspondence, denoting firmness and receptive power. Fortune explains that Chesed represents the formulation of the archetypal idea, allowing abstract concepts to be concretized. This is the sphere where masters, adeptus exemptus, operate, bringing down the logos' ideas to the Briatic plane. Its symbols include the tetrahedron and pyramid, representing three-dimensional solidity, the equal-armed cross, 4 elements in equilibrium, and royal regalia. The 4 fours of the tarot signify perfected work and earthly power. Chesed, reflecting into Hod via Tifereth, indicates that consciousness must pass through the Christ center to connect from higher archetypal ideas to lower, more concrete forms. Geburah, strength-severity, is symbolized by a mighty warrior in his chariot embodying justice, din, and fear, pashad. As the central sephira on the pillar of severity, it represents the catabolic, down-breaking aspect of force necessary for the release of latent energy and the destruction of the effete. Its association with Mars, Madam, highlights its fiery, destructive, yet purifying nature. The spiritual experience is the vision of power, which confers the grade of Adeptus Major. Its virtues are energy and courage, while its vices are cruelty and destruction. Fortune argues that Geburah is not inherently evil, but is the celestial surgeon, essential for societal health and individual discipline. She criticizes Christianity's failure to adequately integrate this dynamic aspect, leading to a one-sided ethic. Sacrifice, in Geburah's context, is the transmutation of force, a deliberate choice of a greater good that releases psychic energy. The right arm is its microcosmic correspondence. Its symbols include the pentagon and the 5-petaled Tudor rose, reflecting its linked relationship with Netzach, the sword, spur, scourge, and chain. The 4 fives of the tarot are often cards of ill fortune, reflecting strife and defeat, but also emphasize Geburah's corrective action. Fortune stresses the importance of Geburah's discipline, comparing it to a car's brakes needing to match its horsepower, and identifying it as the great initiator of the swollen-headed. Tifereth, beauty, occupies the central position on the middle pillar, serving as the equilibrium point for the entire tree. It is Kether on a lower arc and Yesod on a higher arc, and the crucial point of transmutation between the planes of force and form. Its magical images include a majestic king, a child, and a sacrificed god, reflecting its roles as the king of Malkuth, the child of Kether, and the Redeemer. Tifereth Shemesh, the sun, is the mediating intelligence, focusing archetypal ideals into archetypal ideas, making God manifest in form. Its spiritual experiences are the vision of the harmony of things and the mysteries of the crucifixion, symbolizing its role in unifying diverse aspects and the redemptive power of sacrifice. Its virtue is devotion to the great work, and its vice is pride. As the Christ center, Tifereth is the focus of Christian religion, but also the sphere of the inebriating god, Dionysus, who grants illumination by changing the mind's mode of consciousness. Fortune connects Tifereth to the solar plexus in the microcosm, absorbing subtle solar energy. Its symbols include the Layman breast jewel, the rosy cross representing the integration of nature forces with spiritual principles, the Calvary cross, sacrifice, the truncated pyramid, the initiated adept, and the cube, perfection of Malkuth. The 4 sixes of the tarot reflect its harmonious and balanced nature, signifying victory and success. Fortune explains that sacrifice is not loss, but the transmutation of static energy into kinetic, putting it into cosmic circulation for regeneration. The god named Tetragrammaton Aloha Vadath signifies God made manifest in the sphere of mind. Netzach, victory, is the sphere of Venus, Noga, symbolized by a beautiful naked woman representing instincts and emotions. It is the occult intelligence, where the white light breaks into many rayed hues. Its god name is Jehovah Tsabaoth, Lord of Hosts, and its archangel is Haniel. The spiritual experience is the vision of beauty triumphant. Its virtue is unselfishness, capacity to polarize from the negative pole, and its vices are unchastity and lust. Fortune emphasizes that Netzach represents the force aspect of the astral plane, where forces are fluidic and beings are group minds, Elohim. Contacts with Netzach are made through feeling with, via the arts, dance, sound, color, rather than intellect. In the microcosm, Netzach correlates with the loins, hips, and legs, emphasizing its connection to polarity beyond mere physical sex. Fortune argues that understanding this universal principle of polarity, represented by the flow of energy between high and low pressure, is crucial for balancing the personality. The 4 sevens of the tarot, assigned to Netzach, often show unstable effort or illusory success, indicating the volatile nature of this force if not rooted in spiritual principle. Had, glory, is the sphere of Mercury, Kokab, symbolized by an hermaphrodite embodying the balance of male and female elements. It is the absolute or perfect intelligence, reflecting Bina's formative power through Chesed. Had represents the form aspect of the astral plane and the concrete mind. Its god name is Elohim Taibaoth, god of hosts, and its archangel is Michael, who is depicted trampling a serpent, symbolizing the triumph of restrictive prudence over primitive force. Its spiritual experience is the vision of splendor, a realization of God's glory in the created world. Its virtue is truthfulness, and its vices are falsehood and dishonesty, reflecting Mercury's dual nature as god of science and thieves. The 4 eighths of the tarot illustrate Had's role in checking and inhibiting dynamic power, leading to abandoned success, sublimation, and shortened force. Had is the sphere of formal magic, where the magician uses the intellectual imagination to formulate forms. Beni Elohim, sons of God, and ensoul them with the forces of Netzach. Magical symbols like names, versicles, mantras, and the apron are crucial tools, working upon the operator's mind to evoke specific potencies. Fortune emphasizes that effective magic requires the harmonious interplay of Had's intellect and Netzach's emotional sensitivity. Yesod, the foundation, is the sphere of the moon. Levana, symbolized by a beautiful, strong, naked man, yet under the presidency of Gabriel, archangel of water. It is the pure intelligence, purifying and correcting the emanations before transmitting them to Malkuth. Its spiritual experience is the vision of the machinery of the universe. Yesod is the etheric realm, the ether of the wise. Akasha, astral light, which acts as the invisible framework for matter. Fortune emphasizes that spirit works through mind, and mind works through the ether, making Yesod crucial for any magic intended to affect the physical world. She draws parallels to ectoplasm, a subtle substance that takes on and relinquishes forms, highlighting its role as a kind of ethereal protoplasm. Yesod is the first sphere encountered when rising on the plains from Malkuth, serving as the treasure house of images or sphere of illusion, requiring Had's keys for effective command. Its lunar symbolism reflects its rhythmic nature, influencing physiological processes and magical tides. The two-sided nature of Yesod, Diana as virgin and fertility goddess, reflects the dual aspects of sex, etheric and physical. Its microcosmic correspondence is the reproductive organs. Perfumes and consecrated sandals are important magical tools, influencing emotions and channeling earth magnetism. The 4 nines of the tarot reveal the workings of etheric magnetism, bringing great strength and material happiness, but also despair and cruelty when unbalanced. Finally, Malkuth, the kingdom, is the physical plane, symbolizing the material world in its densest and subtlest aspects. It is depicted as a young woman, crowned and throned, the inferior mother or bride of Microprosopos. Malkuth is unique in not participating in any triangle but receiving influences from all other Sephiroth. It is divided into 4 quarters, representing the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water of the wise, which are modes of energy rather than physical states. Malkuth is the nadir of evolution, but also the point of culmination and stability where force is finally locked home into form. Its virtue is discrimination, exemplified by the body's excretion of effete matter linking to the anus in the microcosm, and its vices are avarice and inertia, representing an over-retentiveness. The spiritual experience is the vision of the holy guardian angel, the higher self, representing the union of the lower and higher selves, freeing the soul from the compulsion of rebirth. Its god name, Adonai Malek or Adonai Haaretz, asserts God's supremacy in the earthly kingdoms. Its archangel, Sandalphon, is the dark angel associated with karmic debt and justice. The Asham, souls of fire, consciousness of atoms, are its angelic choir. Fortune emphasizes that all magical operations must conclude in Malkuth to be effective, as it is the final grounding of spiritual force. The altar of the double cube, as above, so below, and the equal-armed cross elements in equilibrium are its key symbols. The 4 tens of the tarot are alternately good and bad, reflecting the dual nature of spiritual forces when manifested on the physical plane. Fortune stresses that divination's true use is to discern spiritual influences and act accordingly, making it a religious rite rather than mere fortune-telling. The book concludes with a chapter dedicated to the Qliphoth, the evil and averse Sephiroth. Fortune asserts that these are not independent entities but represent the unbalanced and destructive aspects of the Holy Sephiroth arising from periods of disequilibrium during cosmic evolution. She emphasizes the necessity of studying them, citing Abramelin the Mage's system, which evokes both angelic and demoniac forces under laboratory conditions to ensure safety. Fortune distinguishes between positive evil, force moving against evolution, and negative evil, inertia or momentum not yet overcome, arguing that dualism, a conflict between good and evil leading to total annihilation of one, is a fundamental heresy. She states that equilibrium is maintained not by static force but by dynamic tension, like a pendulum swing. The Qliphoth form as nuclei around which thought forms of evil are organized, resulting from the overplus of a force that, though intrinsically pure, becomes destructive if uncompensated, e.g., Gebura's energy leading to cruelty. Fortune highlights that making oneself a channel for any pure force, whether Sephirothic or Qliphothic, unleashes a river in spate behind the operator, emphasizing the power of single-minded zealots. The Mystical Qabalah offers a profound synthesis of esoteric wisdom, providing a comprehensive framework for understanding the universe, the human soul, and the practical application of spiritual principles for personal and cosmic evolution. Fortune's work encourages a disciplined, experiential approach to mysticism, challenging conventional dualisms and emphasizing the interconnectedness and inherent divinity of all aspects of existence. Thank you for exploring the Mystical Qabalah with occult mysticism. Share your insights below and connect with our community. Like, subscribe, and click the bell for more mystical revelations. Until next time, keep seeking the divine.